Hey everybody, happy 2021. I hope it's going okay for you. It's already been an interesting year and we're not even 2 weeks in, so that's something. Today's video, we're going to talk about my favorite jugglers of 2020. Before we do that, if you didn't already know about the top 40 jugglers list that Luke Burridge puts out every year, he just released the results of the top 40 jugglers of 2020, and I was voted number 2.
In second place on the top 40 jugglers of 2020 is Taylor Glenn. This is Taylor's highest place on the chart, up 5 places from last year.
It's amazing to me. So I just wanted to take a second and say thank you to everyone who voted for me. Number 2 is so high. I'm incredibly honored and humbled. I know there are a lot of jugglers out there that you could have voted for, especially a lot of people who are much better technical jugglers than me. So it meant a lot that you value what I do enough to vote for me. Thank you so much. I know it's a big deal to be number 2, and so I'm going into this year, 2021, with a lot of goals and the hope that I can live up to that expectation. And I hope that my place on the list inspires you all and makes you realize that there's a lot of different ways to value juggling, and you just gotta find what you love the most about it, do your best, and other people will appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about my favorite jugglers of 2020. Before I reveal who my favorite jugglers were, I wanna just clarify what that means to me. What does favorite mean to me? Juggling means something different to everybody. So for me personally, when I'm looking at my favorite jugglers of the year, these are the things that I look for. I definitely appreciate a juggler's skill level, how skilled they are at juggling, the creativity that certain jugglers approach juggling with. One of the biggest factors for me is their community involvement, how much you give back to the juggling community, who are taking their time to make tutorials, to teach workshops, to create juggling programs. Things like that are really important to me because the community is really important to me. I also heavily take into account the juggler's presence online, which is really tough because a lot of people I know cannot post online or don't feel comfortable posting online. Unfortunately, that's just a way that a lot of us get to interact with each other, especially if we can't go to festivals like we couldn't really last year. How active somebody is online, both in posting and engaging in community forums and such, is a big factor for whether I consider them one of my favorite jugglers. And when determining my favorite juggler for the year, I try to look at all those criteria just for the year. Jugglers who did those things in 2020 specifically. The last thing I want to say is that this is in no way a list of the best jugglers in the world. These are just my favorite jugglers. Especially because I acknowledge that I'm an English speaker. It's hard for me to interact with jugglers in other countries that don't speak English. And I think that greatly limits the amount of non-English speakers on my list. All of the jugglers I mentioned in this video will be linked in the description, so you can go check them out, go follow them, go have a good time. These jugglers are in no particular order other than the last 10. Those are the top 10 for me, but again, they're not even in order. I'm not ranking these people. They're just my favorites. They're my favorites. Okay, the first juggler of my favorite jugglers that I'm gonna highlight is Bach. Bach is a fantastic juggler from France. He's so inspiring to me just because of the way he approaches club juggling. I think it's some of the most beautiful, artistic juggling out there, and it just makes me so happy when I watch it. He released one of my favorite juggling videos ever at the end of the year, so Bach is one of my favorite jugglers of 2020. I love it, so yeah. The next of my favorite jugglers is Zak McAllister. A lot of people know about Zak McAllister because he's fantastic. He ended up in the top 10 jugglers of the top 40 jugglers list. Year after year, Zak just wows everybody with his creativity and his weirdness, and I always appreciate it. Next up, Sara Noelle. She posted a lot on Instagram in 2020, and I'm always excited when I see her videos because she's at a skill level that's a bit harder than where I'm at with clubs, so it's really inspiring to me to see tricks that I feel like I can work on, but to see them done by somebody who's already put in that work. Next up, we have Flotep. Flotep, aka Casey Pickford. He is both a strange person and a strange juggler, and I appreciate that about him a lot. In 2020, he started posting more videos with a new style of juggling where the balls are on strings and they create these cool patterns, and I think 2021 is going to be an even better year for Flotep. Next up, Cate Flaherty, a fantastic juggler that I have looked up to since I started juggling. I would not be the juggler I am today without the influence and inspiration of Cate. She hasn't been super active online for a while, but this year she started posting more towards the end of the year, and I just loved it. She focuses on ball tricks and is incredible with rolla bola. And again, she's one of those people who is slightly above my skill level, so I love seeing her stuff because it gives me ideas of things that I can work on. And I'm keeping an eye on her for my top 10 jugglers of 2021. I can't talk about my favorite jugglers without mentioning the one, the only Wes Peden. Wes is just, Wes is arguably the best active juggler in the world right now. He is incredibly technical, incredibly creative, and just a really nice person. Year after year, I always appreciate how much time he puts into not only improving his juggling, but also creating beautiful, well-produced juggling videos. He's been doing that since I started juggling, and I'll admit, the reason why I didn't vote for him in my top 10 it's just because he's always in the top 10 and I don't think he really cares. So I wanted to choose another juggler to be in that top 10 spot who maybe doesn't get as much recognition. Wes, I adore you. Thank you so much for your constant inspiration and contribution to the juggling community forever. Right, next up I have Gjenri. I think that's how you say his name. Gjenri is from the Philippines and he's really young. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's not very old. And he is already incredibly skilled both technically and creatively. He posted a lot of videos in 2020 and every one he did blew me away. He does one of my favorite things where he will come up with a variation of a trick that he's never seen before. And honestly, he's one of the few young people I've seen do that who actually succeeded in making variations I've never seen before. It's so inspirational. I love seeing the way that his brain is approaching juggling, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for him because he's already well on his way to becoming one of the best in the world, in my opinion. Santi from Mexico. I was fortunate enough to meet Santi last year at the Circunvención Mexicana, and he's just a fantastic human being. Really, really kind, and does a lot for the juggling communities in Mexico. And two, he posted so much good stuff in 2020. He's got some of the most beautiful juggling content from 2020, in my opinion. And again, I think 2021 is gonna be even better for him. My list is long, right? Sorry, I can't pick just 10, y'all. I'm sorry. Right next on my list, Andrew Olson. If you're not familiar with Andrew Olson, you are missing out. He is just on a different wavelength of juggling than the rest of us. All right, next up, Erin Stephens. Erin is a great friend of mine. I just adore her as a person, and she's been an inspiration for me for like 15 years. Similar to Cate, I would not be where I am without Erin Stephens. Not only is she a great juggler, again, slightly above my skill level, so I find that really inspiring, she also does arguably more than any other juggler in the world that I know of for the juggling community. She helps run programs all over the world. She is a big reason why the International Jugglers Association is in fact international now. The juggling world would not be what it is today without Erin, and I think that deserves so much respect. All right, the last juggler, before I get into my top 10, I know this list is long, I'm sorry, is Lauri? I don't know how to say your name either. Lauri Koskinen is what I think is how you say it. I actually think I would have put him in my top 10. I just kind of had a brain fart and forgot. So I'm gonna say he's like tied in the top 10 with someone else. Lauri is a great juggler technically, like fantastic. And again, has a very accessible approach to it where I feel like he's showing tricks that I could actually learn, which I really appreciate. And he posts a lot of juggling tutorials on YouTube to help other people learn juggling. I know how hard it is to make tutorials and to share that knowledge, and I appreciate that he does that, and he does it really well. So Lauri, you're pretty much in my top 10, but I messed up, so top 10 tied. You should go subscribe to him on YouTube if you haven't already. He good stuff. All right, top 10. My top 10 favorite jugglers of the year 2020. Yeah. Again, these top 10 people are in no particular order. They're all amazing. I love them so much. Ben Cornish. Ben Cornish is a juggler that a lot of people have never heard of, but he is incredibly active online in the juggling community. He takes a lot of time to answer questions and offer advice and help and videos to help beginner jugglers, which is so important to me. And he posts a lot just showing what he's working on and what he loves about juggling. He'll often combine bounce juggling things or table juggling with some great 3-ball stuff. I personally find it really inspiring because it's slightly outside of my comfort zone, but it's accessible and I feel like I could learn it, which is the thing that I love the most when I see certain juggling videos. I also really appreciate that he just seems to post because he likes it and that he wants to encourage other people to have fun with it. So his combination of being an incredibly welcoming and supportive teacher online and sort of ambassador for beginner jugglers, as well as posting a lot of accessible but unique and creative juggling videos, makes Ben one of my top 10 favorite jugglers of 2020. Next up, Maggie Rusak. I don't know how to say her name. Rusak? Rusak. Maggie is just one of my favorite jugglers ever. She's really good at like foot juggling and combining that with toss juggling. Again, it's very accessible to me, so it feels like I can learn some of the tricks, but she does it in a really unique way, and she shows a lot of her fails in her stories along the way. I just appreciate that a lot. She had an IJA Tricks of the Month video. She has some amazing videos on Instagram. Just constantly making good stuff and working really hard at juggling and doing a style of juggling that I don't see all the time. I find it really inspiring. I also really love her personality and how it comes through her videos. She has this sort of like deadpan, unimpressed personality, but it's really likable for me. I don't know, there's something about it that I find really amusing. Next up, Delaney Bayles. Of course, freaking amazing. Delaney is so incredible. Delaney grew up in Utah, the same as me, so I actually met her before she was this incredible record-breaking juggler that she is. I mean, she was already quite good when I met her, but for a split second, I was better. Split second. Definitely an inspiration to me, and I think to a lot of other people out there. She's just so good. Delaney is one of the few people who I voted for despite the fact that she didn't post very often, but when she did post, it was so incredible. She's definitely one of the best technical jugglers in the world, and arguably one of the best women jugglers who have ever existed. I just think that's awesome. I'm so excited to see what else comes from her epicness. Like, just look at this 7 club run for a second. Just look at it. It's really long. Just making it look so easy. 7 clubs is not easy. I will never be able to do 7 clubs. I genuinely believe that. I don't think I will ever know how to do this. Definitely not for this many catches. So, Delaney, you're amazing. Next up in my top 10 was Lucy Eden. A lot of people might look at Lucy and not really understand why she's one of my favorite jugglers. There's a lot of things that go into that. One, I love that she posts a lot of videos of tricks that she's working on, despite the fact that they're not, the hardest tricks in the world. That's how I've basically built my entire presence online. I think there's a huge value in posting tricks that aren't the hardest so that people can learn them and be inspired by them. And she's another juggler who's like around the same level as me. And so I like seeing her videos so much because it does inspire me and gives me ideas for things that I can actually learn. And I just love it. And then on top of that, she has an amazing personality and she's not afraid to be herself. She's an outspoken trans juggler, and I appreciate how much she does for the juggling community by being herself and sharing who she is and not being afraid of what other people think about her. I find that really inspiring. She's also super active online in the community and again, offers a lot of support and encouragement to other people. I love her juggling, I love her as a person. She inspired me a lot this year. Next up, Liza, I should learn people's names, how to say them. Liza van Brakel. Just one of my favorite jugglers to watch, period. Everything about the way she moves and incorporates juggling into her movement is so good. Like I could just watch her over and over and over and over, and I have. I'm not to be creepy, but I have. She posts some of the most creative, unique sequences, and I just think they're amazing. So beautiful, so unique, so creative, so difficult. So well presented. I love them. Go watch them. Next up, Bo Juggler. Bao? I think it's Bo. I'm gonna say Bo Juggler. He's a poi juggler, and he is so good. I am kind of obsessed with poi juggling recently. I can't do it worth a crap, but it's so beautiful when done well. Bo he just does it so well. Like, it looks so pretty and so smooth and effortless. And let me tell you, throwing a poi is not effortless. It is very hard. It's just so hard to control these floppy string things. And he does it in a way that just makes it look so pretty. Another juggler that I will sit and just watch over and over and over again. I need to practice poi juggling more. Look at how pretty it is. It's so pretty. Bo, great job. Thank you for being one of my favorite jugglers. Next up, Zak Denger. A lot of people know about Zak Denger. He is such an amazing technical sport juggler. Definitely one of the best jugglers making content right now. I watch a lot of technical sport juggling, and it's my favorite style of juggling. But a lot of people who do it, they don't make it look particularly pretty. It often looks very difficult and hard. But when Zak juggles, there's something about it that just looks really satisfying. I just really like watching his videos, as I think many others do as well. He was voted in the top 10 for good reason. In 2020, he also posted a lot of content. He did a trick every single day for 100 days, and they were all brutal, incredibly hard tricks, just so impressive. On top of that, one of the things I love about Zak's videos is that he puts time and thought into how he presents them. A lot of jugglers will post tricks like in a gym because that's where they're practicing, and they'll just film themselves practicing and post the big tricks from that, which is great. I appreciate it, but I, as a person who likes film, really love it when a juggler will take that extra step and make the video appealing in some way. And Zak always seems to do that. He frames his videos really well. He puts thought into where he is when he's filming. That's hard to do, especially when you're doing tricks as difficult as Zak. I think that deserves a lot of recognition. We're coming down to the end. I think I've got 2 more. Again, no particular order. Ricardo Mendes, one of my favorite jugglers over the last few years, and every year he does not disappoint me with the content he makes and the juggling he shows us. He's known for having the hair and the bright yellow balls, and just, and the way he moves his body with juggling, just, I don't know how he does it, but it's incredibly inspiring, and it makes me want to learn how to dance and get better at juggling. He also puts a lot of thought into the aesthetics of his videos, how they look, and I appreciate that. And once again, I've not seen a juggler juggle or move quite the same way as he does, and every time he posts, it's like the best candy in the world. Definitely one of my favorite jugglers of all time. I hope he posts even more content this year, because he's just great. Okay, last in my top favorite jugglers of 2020 is Michael Karras. Michael Karras is one of my favorite jugglers of all time. He has been a huge source of inspiration for me for the last 15 years. I think you'll see a lot of his style in what I do because he has been such a big inspiration for me. He has a style of juggling that I really appreciate. He's both unique but accessible, if that makes sense. Every time he posts a video, I want to learn the trick because I feel like I can. They're not so complicated that I can't wrap my head around them, but they're unique enough that I've never seen them before. And he tends to put time and energy into making sure that we understand what's happening in the tricks, like using color coding. I think that he genuinely loves exploring new variations, and he really wants other people to do that as well. His tricks are amazing, his style is amazing, the amount of content he made this last year was great, and I cannot wait to see what he posts in 2021. So those are my top favorite jugglers of 2020 based on my criteria for what I like in a juggler. Big thanks to Luke Burridge for creating the top 40 jugglers poll every year. That's a lot of work, and I think it can be a really good part of our community. There's also a link to the top 40 results in the description if you want to see what everyone voted for. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope maybe you were introduced to a juggler that you didn't know before. I would love to hear who your favorite 3 jugglers of 2020 were. Leave me a comment, let me know. Make sure you check out all of my favorite jugglers. There's links in the description. Go show them some support. And thank you again to everyone who voted for me in Luke's top 40 jugglers list. Number 2 is, it still hasn't quite sunk in, so thank you again. I'm not gonna let you down in 2021. We've got a lot of great content coming out, some new tutorials, new vlogs. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Happy 2021. 2021. It's 2021. Happy 2021. Yeah.